The 12th day of December. The carpenters and masons were busy at work on the Christmas palace. Miranda inspected the quality of the stone that would support the walls of the west wing, while she supervised the mixing for the cement for the east wing. And there were over 20 varieties of bricks, among them a red brick for the chimneys, a soft brick for the fireplaces, and a rose brick for the soup kitchen hearths, and a chalk brick for the baker's ovens. The carpenters asked her opinion on the pine wood to be laid in the north wing, and the masons wanted to know if the polish on the marble was smooth enough for the tiles in the south wing. And there were plenty of disagreements between the masons and carpenters that she had to settle. The prince arrived in his royal sleigh and approached his tired architect. "Miranda, I trust everything's on schedule?" The prince was the last person Miranda wanted to see today. The truth was, everything was not on schedule. There had been several delays. "Yes, your highness, well, almost," she muttered. "I looked over your reports last night, and I've made a few minor adjustments," the prince said. Adjustments? The prince had been supplying her with adjustments every day, and this was the reason there were so many delays. The prince snapped his fingers, and 4 of his valets approached. Their arms were laden with blueprints, which they passed to Miranda. There wasn't room in her arms for the last blueprint, so the valet placed it in her mouth. "There are new changes there, Miranda." Miranda began to mumble, but the prince couldn't understand what she was saying. "What was that you said?" the prince asked, removing the blueprint from her mouth. "I said this is unfair. You can't keep making changes every single day. The palace will never be finished by Christmas if you keep bothering me with the twaddle. I've had a good mind to, but the prince had heard enough." He smiled and stuck the blueprint back into Miranda's mouth, cutting her off. He laughed and climbed back into his sleigh. "Keep up the good work, Miranda," he called as he drove away. Miranda spit the blueprint from her mouth and threw the others on the ground. "I can't make any more decisions today." At Troll Castle, Archibald was finished a game of checkers with Clipper. "I beat you again, Archibald," Clipper said. "Only because I let you win," Archibald answered, and they both laughed. Clipper threw his arms around Archibald's shoulders and gave him a big hug. "You may be a troll, Archibald, but you're the nicest troll I've ever met." Archibald began to cry. "What is it, Archibald?" Clipper asked. "Did I upset you?" Archibald wiped the tears from his eyes. No, it's just that I'm so happy. These last days together with you and Pendulum have been the happiest days of my life. Papa says that trolls are always grumpy, like Fanica. But you're different, Archibald. You have a good side, too," Clipper said, giving him another hug. Pendulum, who had been watching their game, agreed. "Yes, indeed, Clipper. Trolls have a good side, too." Pendulum. "Trolls have eyes that see at night. They even sparkle at first day's light. They brush their fur from foot to head. Sometimes they even make their bed. Trolls have a good side, too." Archibald. "But trolls are rotten to the core, closing windows and slamming doors. Fresh air makes them sniff and sneeze. Whoever heard a troll say please?" Pendulum. "Some trolls make lifelong friendships. Just ask Spike about our kinship." Spike. "Woof." Archibald cleared his throat. "I have an announcement to make." The nieces waited. "I've decided to set you free." "But what about Fanica?" Pendulum said. "She'll be very cross with you." Even though he wanted to be free, Pendulum didn't want to see Archibald get into any more trouble with Fanica. "This is my castle, too," Archibald said definitely. "Now follow me before I change my mind." He put the key into the lock of the cell door. The nieces looked over their shoulder and watched him fumble with the key. Suddenly, a shadow fell over them, and they all looked up slowly. There stood Fanica, standing on the other side of the door. "And where do you think you're going?" she demanded. "I was just taking the nieces for a walk," Archibald said, his niece trembling. "If you like your little friend so much, Archibald, then you can stay here with them." "Do you mean that?" Archibald asked, excited. "She means that you're now a prisoner like us," Pendulum said. "Exactly, and I want no more trouble from any of you. I'm getting impatient. I want the niece handbook, and I want it soon," Fanica said, shaking her paw at the nieces. "I'm going upstairs to look into my vat of boiling milk. Those other nieces must be on their way back here by now." The nieces were silent, which made Fanica angry. "Or maybe they're planning something," she said, more to herself. "Well, let them try. I'll be prepared. I have nets set up all over the entrances of the castle, even over the windows. If they try to get in, snap. Caught like a fly in a spider's web." "Fanica's web, that is," she said, snickering. "Now give me your key, Archibald." He passed Fanica the key through the bars. She slipped it in the hole on the outside of the door, beyond their reach, and headed upstairs. Tandra and Balto had finally arrived at the end of the long burrow. They stood in front of a large stone wall. "I think Troll Castle's on the other side," Balto said. "But how do we get through?" Tandra began to press on the stones. "I think this one's loose," she said, and pushed her weight against it. The stone fell to the floor on the other side. "We'd better eat another page of the niece handbook to make sure we're still invisible," Tandra suggested. They quickly scribbled the names on new pages and popped them into their mouths. They crawled through the opening, replacing the stone in the wall when they were safely on the other side. "It looks like the dungeon," Tandra whispered. Carefully making their way along the damp, dark corridor, passing empty cell after empty cell, they finally heard familiar voices drift towards them. At the end of the corridor, in the very last cell, their search ended. "Clipper, Pendulum, we found you!" Tandra cried. She turned the key in the lock and swung open the door of the cell. "Mama, Papa!" Clipper shouted, rushing to his parents. "We thought you would never find us," Pendulum said, giving his brother a big hug. "How did you do it?" "There's no time to explain," Balto said. "We've got to leave right now." But in their excitement, Tandra and Balto had closed the door behind them and left the key in the lock outside. The door couldn't be opened from the inside. "Oh no," Tandra whispered. "What are we going to do?" Balto scratched his head and turned to his brother. "When does the troll feed you?" "In the morning." "Then when the trolls come and open the door, we'll slip outside," Balto said. "But she'll see you," Clipper said. "The trolls can't see us. We ate pages from the Niece Handbook. We're invisible to them." "Of course, I'd forgotten that trick," Pendulum said. In the meantime, Tandra suggested, "We might as well relax and get a good night's sleep. The important thing is that we're all together now." At that moment, Archibald woke up. He had been taking a nap in the corner. "A troll!" Tandra shouted. "It's only Archibald," Clipper said. "He won't hurt us. He's our friend." "A troll? A friend? I've never heard of such a thing," Balto protested. "Archibald is a very special troll," Pendulum explained. "His sister Fanica is a nasty troll. Archibald was trying to help us escape, but Fanica caught him and put him in here in the cell with us." Archibald rubbed his eyes. "Who are you talking to?" "Archibald, I'd like to introduce to you the other nieces who live at the Niece Palace," Pendulum said. Archibald looked around, but he couldn't see anyone other than Clipper and Pendulum. "You can't see us because we're invisible," Balto said. "Are you sure our new guests are invisible?" "I can't see them," Archibald said. "That's what invisible means," Clipper explained, laughing. "If you say so. It's very nice to meet you, nieces from the Niece Palace, wherever you are," Archibald said, bowing. "I have a surprise for everyone," Tandra said, removing a big bowl from her knapsack. "Rice pudding!" Clipper shouted. "I may not be able to see your guests, but I can smell something good." "Rice pudding? Is it true? I've never eaten rice pudding," Archibald said. "There's enough for everyone, even a troll," Tandra said. "I'll put it over here in the corner for you, Archibald. Once it's away from us, the magic will wear off, and you can see it. Now eat it up, or we'll have a good night's sleep." The nieces are reunited once again. Will Balto and Tandra be able to slip out of the cell when Fanica comes to feed them in the morning? And will Miranda be able to keep up with the prince's changes to the Christmas palace? Until tomorrow, good night.